Hi everyone, Arwen from Even Star. Welcome to my Facebook Live for this evening, which is in the middle of Science Week here in Australia. So I wanted to talk about the science behind the energetic practices that I use every day for myself, for my family, and of course for my clients, because I love to make people understand that this is something, well, really everything is science, and what I do is based on science, because people do often tend to think that energetic healing type practices, my door banged, are something a bit woo-woo and out there, and something you have to believe in, or something that is a religious or spiritual practice, and really none of that is true at all. So I thought I'd take the opportunity for Science Week to go into the scientific background of my two favourite tools, which are Reiki and Aromatherapy. So really, basically what it all comes down to is that everything is energy. So this is what all the stuff that Einstein spoke about, and really so is based on physics. So everything is made of the same stuff, of minute particles of constantly moving energy, which is a really hard concept to get your head around when we think about things that we think of as solid and being in the physical world. Then it's hard to understand and conceptualize the fact that these solid things, including ourselves, that we think of as solid, are made up of constantly moving particles of energy, and that they appear differently, and our senses react differently to different things just because of the different ways that that energy is moving and vibrating. And so it makes sense, of course, that if you have an imbalance or something that is not going right in your body, and as I always do, I'm talking about your physical, your mental, your emotional, or your spiritual body, then there's some energetic imbalance. Something is not working right with the energy that is there, and it makes sense that we can fix that, or we can help to balance that again by using energy. So I like to think of it as getting a cavity in a tooth filled, or having gravel or a road repaired, a hole in the road repaired, that we're filling in that hole, filling in whatever that is, thing that is missing, that area that is missing, with the same stuff that is missing, which is energy. So as a Reiki practitioner, I am trained and attuned to tap into the energy that is all around all of us. So even though we can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't necessarily use our human senses to detect that energy, it is there. It is there all the time, and it is around all of us. And in fact, any of us can learn and be attuned to tap into that. So that is what I am trained and attuned to do, and depending on the level of Reiki that you have studied and learned and been attuned to, then you will have different access, a slightly different level of access. So I tap into that, and I direct that to you, or to me, or to whoever I'm working on, in the areas that it's most required. It's really interesting there. It's difficult, I guess, for science to do studies on this kind of practice, but it is starting to happen, which is really, really exciting. What the beginnings of this kind of scientific study is beginning to find is that the energy healers, and for those of you who follow me, I don't really like the term healing, because really we heal ourselves, and what I do and other energy healers or practitioners do is to bring about balance, to allow your body to heal itself. But what they're finding is that the energy that we're working with in this kind of practice is a really low frequency energy. So it's around the 20 hertz measurement. So hertz is a measurement of energy, and 1 hertz means that it has 1 cycle per minute. Sorry, just let me check my notes. Sorry, 1 cycle per second is 1 hertz. So the energy that we're working with in the kind of practice that I do is they're finding is between 2 and 20 hertz. So it's really low. So to give you some idea, the vibration of the middle C, the note middle C, is 262 hertz. So what we're talking about with energetic healing energy is a really low vibrational energy. And the vibration is all about why different things are perceived by us as human beings as at being either physical or a sound or something we can smell, because everything vibrates at different levels. And I heard this fantastic podcast today with a shaman talking about how things that vibrate at the same level are really always trying to find each other. So I think that speaks to us about how we might feel particularly positive or particularly negative when we go into a particular space or with particular people. You think, oh, look, I just don't click with that person. And there's a different energetic vibration going on some level that, at the moment we can't detect, but it's there. So as I said, they're starting to do studies on this kind of practice. There's certainly been even some really prestigious universities and medical schools doing studies on Reiki. So Harvard is one that I always like to point out to people, because most people have heard of Harvard. And they're really, there's 2 different things they're studying. So in this particular case with Harvard, they're studying the effects of using Reiki on patients in hospitals and finding absolutely beautiful positive benefits, even though they can't necessarily say why or how that works, but they're finding without a doubt positive benefits. People heal quicker, they feel less stressed, they feel just better able to cope with being even in a hospital environment if they're receiving that kind of treatment. Then the other side of that is the more, theoretical, scientific point of view of, well, what is this energy? How does this work? So I just wanted to read a bit of a quote from one of my colleagues who I love his work. So he's based in Barcelona, and he has an organisation called Human Frequencies. And on the Human Frequencies website, he says, so far we know that biofields or electromagnetic energy human fields are strong and a vital part of ourselves. But the specific and exact characteristics or physiology remain still unclear. First, we must shift some paradigms about basic human physiology and study and integrate some concepts like semiconduction, tensegrity, and the electromagnetic frequencies of the body. So for the moment, I always love to talk about Reiki as a results-based field. So it's not an evidence-based field. Scientists just are not getting their heads around that quite yet. They're starting to, as I've just said. So it's a results-based. So I'm more than happy to use this practice, which seems to be really simple but really powerful, and again brings about amazing results for the people that I work with. And, I don't have any problems with saying that this is a science-based thing. It's energy, and everything is energy, but we can't quite go into all the details of why that works for us. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is my other favourite energetic healing practice that I do, which is aromatherapy. So the science behind that, so essential oils, most people probably know, they're volatile aromatic compounds that come from plants. So plants produce these compounds for 2 purposes. One, to protect themselves from any kind of predator, and that also includes bacterias and other, minute microorganisms that might attack the plant. And they also produce them for propagation, so to attract birds and insects to them and help them to grow and multiply. So their oils can be found in all the different parts of the plant, and they'll have slightly different properties. So you can get a coriander seed oil or a root oil or a leaf oil, depending on what kind of exact properties you want to use. So oils will be producing roots, leaves, flowers, fruits, bark, and even resins. So like the sap that is produced by plants can be used. So I'm pretty sure frankincense comes from a resin. So that's a pretty common one. So essential oils have been used by human cultures for thousands of years, and they are used for their aromatic benefits just in terms of fragrance, so in perfumes and fragrancing and flavouring things, so used in food as well, definitely very, very common in culinary uses, but they have also been used for their medicinal properties for literally thousands of years, probably for as long as human beings have been around and interacting with their plants around them. So it's good to remember that some of our most common Western medical tools like aspirin actually come from plant-derived originally as well. So definitely essential oils are very potent and need to be treated with respect. So make sure that you are using them with care, especially in regards to putting them directly onto your skin, and as is indicated by some practitioners, to take them internally. I've spoken about this before. I do think that that's an appropriate practice for short-term use for something pretty extreme that you want to deal with and get on top of really quickly. So the way that they work is their particles are really, really tiny, which means that they can easily be absorbed through the skin and into the human body. So they're, as a quote, they are complex and subtle due to their structure and chemical properties. So they have really small, they're made up of really small particles, so they're able to be absorbed through the olfactory nerves and sending messages to the brain and making the brain respond to that. So that's what these messages to the brain do. The brain will act in response and send, so for example, with lavender, which is a typical one that people use for relaxation, then that's going to send a particular message to the brain to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and therefore that's why lavender has that effect on us, or not on all of us, but on some people, because you may not vibrate on the same level as lavender, and that is why it's not going to work for you. So some people really don't like lavender. If you want to relax and you don't like lavender, you might want to try some of the earthy ones like cedarwood or sandalwood. So this is just really really apparent when you're working with different people. So I was giving some friends some treatments on the weekend, just because we were having a bit of a relaxing girls' weekend, and I just kind of intuitively chose oils for all of them, and two of those oils were actually oils that I don't like personally, and it was amazing how each of those women, who I chose completely different types of oils for, absolutely loved what I chose for them. And whereas for me personally, two of them, I was just like, oh, I would never want to be, holding this tissue up to my face for the next 3 days like some of them have. So we really do. We're all individual, and we're all going to have those different energetic vibrations at different levels. So the small molecular weight of the essential oils is what makes them so potent and so able to be absorbed. And they're also fat soluble, so they're easily absorbed into the human body, and that includes into the brain. So this is how they work like that. So they'll remain in their localized area, and then also some of the properties will go further into the system. So wherever you apply them, you'll have a localized effect, but depending on what the properties of them are, then they'll be absorbed further into the system. So you can increase your rates of absorption. So I'm always saying to use them with a carrier oil or sorbeline or something, and massaging as well. That'll increase, you're bringing blood flow to the area and increasing the absorption of those oils in that way. And I think that's all I wanted to say about the scientific properties of essential oils. So both of those beautiful tools that I'm using all the time, based in science, I love it. I'm really excited about the investigations that are going on more and more often, and with more and more validity as well into how and why Reiki works. And essential oils, I think we kind of understand on a physiological level why they work, but I love to use them for those energetic properties as well, that they really do work on all the energetic levels of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual as well. And it's a great take-home tool for people who come and see me for Reiki, and then that's something that can help them to extend and enhance the benefits of that on an energetic level. So I hope that has been really useful. If you've got any other questions, if there are other things you wanted to know that I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me. And I hope you have a lovely evening and be well. Good night.